The time to make life-changing money in crypto is running out. You can turn $1,000 into $100,000 by following a few simple steps, and I'm going to take you over exactly how to do that as soon as you hit that like button. Let's get into it. Now guys, before we go into a fairly simple process, I'm just going to take you through exactly where I think we are right now, because it's up in the air. We're going to look at a few charts. This is a very important one, and this is the Bitcoin chart. But one thing that we want to look at right now is this area, this line, support and resistance line. Previous resistance becomes support, previous support becomes resistance. What we can see is the RSI, or the Relative Strength Index, indicating that we are down here. Every single time we've been down here, we have seen a bounce between 28 and like 45%. And looking over here on Twitter at the Bitcoin archive, we can see that the current RSI is the lowest it's been since the COVID crash, all the way back in 2020, where we saw the price of Bitcoin hit $3,800. Now, as we jump across and look at the Bitcoin chart, you can see that Bitcoin does appear to be struggling a little, and you would see that it has had a fairly aggressive sell-off towards the downside. But I want to show you this, because in the past, I've talked about a half altcoin season, where we go through a Bitcoin, then Ethereum section, where we're going to see growth in Ethereum, then we're going to move into a large cap market cap. You know, not everything moves at the same time. What we can see is back in 2020, around this time that we broke through this support line on the Bitcoin dominance chart, we moved into an area that it was better to be in the altcoins than it was to be in Bitcoin. And this is indicative of a bull market that's starting to gain confidence, because people will start to put bigger money, bigger bets into the more volatile assets, which is outside of Bitcoin, because they seem better upside potential. And this is very important. Now, as you know, guys, if you are subscribed to my channel, I've been pretty much bullish since that FTX crash. And it's important to note that sometimes I do get like a little carried away, but I'm always very careful to look at both sides of the story. So it's important to pay attention to other people out there who have good amounts of knowledge. Gareth Soloway, one of the most respected traders looking at cryptocurrency, also has a fairly bearish outlook on the entire market and Bitcoin, based on various different indicators, based on some of the knowledge, based on the macro outlook of what's going on right now. And it's important to pay attention to what other people say, even if you don't agree with what they're saying, because it stops us basically running away with an idea that we think is right and not willing to take on any other information. Now, while I think Gareth might be right, I actually think that there is also a huge amount of other manipulation things going on in the market, and the kind of stuff he's looking towards does paint a very bearish picture, which I think is important because it gives people the narrative that they should be selling off and getting out of the market. And that fear is what I like to buy into. Before we jump in and say, yeah, it's a good time to buy or it's a bad time to buy, I want you to understand one thing. Every single person, trader, etc. out there doesn't know for sure. My problem with what Gareth says in his story here is he kind of tells you that, you know, he's been around the block, he knows loads of stuff, he's been right for like 95% of the time over the last 24 years. It's pretty convincing, and that does tell you that he has a better chance of being right sometimes than being wrong, but it doesn't tell you for sure that he's right. And one of the most dangerous and difficult things to accept as a trader is once you place your trade, you don't know where it's going to go. And that means that we have to play a game of probability. And the only thing we can really do is get exposure to markets when the prices are cheap and sell and get out of markets when the prices are high. Because me, Gareth Soloway, anyone else out there, Warren Buffett, doesn't have a clue, confirmed 100%, that a market will move in one direction or another. The only thing that I think you'll agree with me, and if you don't agree with me on this, then you probably shouldn't really even be looking at crypto, is the prices of crypto right now are lower than they once were and will likely be again. If you believe that Bitcoin is worth more than $26,000 in the future, then arguably it's a better buy now than perhaps it was before. Because you can see that it's already dropped down here. But I want to show you something that's very important right now, and it's how other altcoins are reacting against Bitcoin. Now I'm going to show you a few altcoins, and I know it's probably going to give a few lads a bit of a hard on because they bloody love Kaspa and HBar and, get very upset if I've ever said anything bad. Like that time when I told everyone that Kaspa was going to pull back and it pulled back 30%. Yeah, okay. Right. What you can see, guys, Bitcoin has been in a bit of a downtrend since the 29th of June. Kaspa, since around the 2nd or 1st of July, has been in a bit of an uptrend. You would pretty much agree with me that Kaspa and Bitcoin are doing polar opposites in this situation. And then yesterday, that's very interesting. What else we can see is HBar. In the same time that Bitcoin has been in this downtrend, you can see HBar being in somewhat of an uptrend. Why is that happening? I told you, because once we move on to next phases in the market, you might start to see money coming out of Bitcoin being put into other altcoins out there. Is that what we're seeing right now, perhaps? Very important to note. However, this is not true of every altcoin out there. This is very important because it tells you something very important. If we want to turn $1,000 into $100,000, we can't do that by betting on 1 or 2 or 3 coins only, and we can't do it in just one coin without having to take sells along the way. If we want to achieve this in the next 2 or 3 years, you're probably going to have to follow something like this blueprint. And it might not be the perfect one, and if you go away and do your own research, which I mean is essential, then you might understand a different way, and maybe you find a better way than me. But this is what I'm going to be doing, what I am doing already. What we need to do is look, different coins move at different times. So for example, when HBar was up here the other day, I made a video saying that this was maybe a time that you could be taking some profits and moving into something else. And I'm not saying here I would be taking money out of HBar and putting it into Bitcoin, but you would have to argue, if you just simply looked at these charts, that might not be a bad call in this scenario. Don't get upset, guys. I know you're trying to keep your HBar thing going, but let me show you this, for example. Now, I'm not saying one coin is better than the other. All we need to know is that we're going to go out there and we're going to use some time to identify 5 to 10 coins with larger scale market caps that have a real world use case, that have some good partnerships and things going on, that have good tokenomics, that have a good hype supporting community that are going to be able to push this thing forward, that is also getting heavily developed on and things like that. Now, lots of people drive a narrative of this is a really good project and whatever, and then think, does it really need to have a coin? If the answer is it could be an incredible business but doesn't really need to have a coin, then again, it's probably not worth buying, because what's going to really drive that price is only people telling you the narrative, and ultimately it's not going to push it forward if lots of people are making transactions on it, or lots of people are like buying it and selling it all the time for different things. Okay, it needs to have a good use case and being used for something to be able to drive that price. Circulating supply and other things are important. Understand what makes a good coin, and you can go and do that yourself by learning information. And if you really want to turn $1,000 into $100,000, you have to ask yourself, how much time is that worth? If you work a job, then maybe you're making $20,000 to $50,000 per year, and you want to turn $1,000 and make $99,000 and do it with researching in the next 5 minutes, then you probably got your priorities a little bit wrong, because I'm not saying you have to work necessarily an entire year to turn $1,000 into $100,000, but it might be saying to myself that I need to invest 30 minutes a day or an hour a day. That's up to 28, which would be like 28 hours. If you did an hour a day for a month, it's 28. That's like 30 hours. Most people work sort of 30 to 40 hour weeks. So maybe you're doing like what's effectively a week of work each month towards learning about cryptocurrency in order to turn your $1,000 into $100,000. Pretty reasonable return when you look at it like that. I think you'll agree. Now, once you've got your coins and you've got your 5 or 10, what we're really looking to do, and this is just as an example, okay, I'm not saying that you should sell your HBar for Ocean Protocol, but look at what happens in this. HBar is going up, which means it has a high chance of coming down, whereas this one is going down, which has a high chance of going up. So effectively what you want to do, and I've told you this before, is to take money from coins that are pumped and moving into coins that are lower down. And you might be right, and I know loads of people are going to be like, oh, HBar. Guys, relax, okay? Just listen to what I'm saying here. I think that HBar could have a bit more of an aggressive pump, but what we're waiting for is maybe it moving up here and then to start taking some profits and moving them into other coins, because the bigger coins will be pumping first. And like I said the other day, you could have taken money out of Kaspa when Kaspa was up here and moved it into something else that was already down has now just pumped again in the last few days, and then you would be moving and making gains all the time. That would be a much easier way to do things than just holding one of them forevermore. Also, I guarantee you that you might not be right in every single coin that you pick. That's why you have to have 5 or 10, because some of them might do really well, some of them might not do so well. Now, it's important to note that you're not going to be able to 100x the likes of Kaspa, you're not going to be able to 100x the likes of HBar, XLM, XRP. I don't care, guys. If you know about these coins by now, you're probably not going to see 100x's on them, okay? Because it's a very big change in the next couple of years to see in coins that are that big and well established. But what you need to do is to be 5xing, 10xing what you've got right now in order to then be able to play in the more risky assets that are going to be coming in next year, towards the end of next year. Because it's going to be much easier for you to redistribute that 5 or 6k into coins that can potentially do 100x or 1000x then, because all you then need to do is put in $100 and see 1000x. But if you've already got 6,000 amassed by making a 6x on coins by getting in at the right time, that gives you 60 bets to try and find one coin that's going to do you 100x. That makes a lot of sense, and that's much easier, isn't it, than just trying to get as much money as possible out of these. So use these big coins right now to be trying to grow your cash, okay? But you're not going to see the massive gains in these coins that perhaps you really want to. I hope that makes sense. Right now, you've got one of the best opportunities that there could ever be again. You don't know whether it's going to go up or down, but most of the coins that we're looking at right now are sat in these buy zones down here, Ocean Protocols 1. XRP has pulled back to a buy zone that last time it was in this area, it pretty much erupted 94%. XLM had a pullback and is currently back to that recent high, 57% to gain. Polkadot sits down here in a buy zone at a low that it hasn't really seen since the start of this year. Agix sits down here in this buy zone. Last time it was in this area, it burst up 296%. I'm not saying that these are the coins you want to be buying, but you've got enough time to get out there and have a look into some of these coins right now that are sat in some of the best positions when I've looked at the charts that you've seen in a while. Guys, if this goes and does back up to here, it will do what? 280%. If you put in $100, it's going to give you $280 profit, $380. You then have much more cash, wouldn't you argue, to be able to get started. And the problem is, people are thinking, well, yeah, but it might go down to this low. If it goes down to a low that's like 20 or 30% lower, then yeah, you have to wake up and look at a bit of red for a while. And in which case, then maybe you should try and get out there and see what other ways you could sell something on eBay, or get another job, or find income from something else, or whatever it is, to be able to invest at cheaper, lower prices. Right now, one of the better opportunities I've seen, there is a lot of fear out there that's scaring people into selling off their crypto. Right now, you shouldn't be selling your crypto, you should be buying as much crypto as you can be, in my opinion. Of course, that's not financial advice, it's just what I think I would be doing in this scenario. Interesting how the bears come out when the times are bad, and the bulls come out when the times are good. Right now, guys, you should be a bull amongst bears, and when it's the bull market, you should be a bear amongst bulls. If you are, however, getting into crypto, then you need to be looking after your crypto properly, and that's why I recommend getting yourself a hardware wallet. You can go across the link down below. It's a discount link for a decent. Remember, guys, if you want to make $100,000, that's a lot of money. You need to be protecting yourself against things like exchange crashes, against people stealing seed codes and other things like that. This is a very cool piece of kit. Has a fingerprint scanner. You can store over 2,000 different cryptos on there. You can see the supported coins link, so you can check if you can find it or not on there. You can also link it up through Bluetooth with a phone. You don't need any wires. It doesn't need to be used with a laptop. So if you've only got a mobile phone, this is the exact wallet you should be using. Find it in the link down below in the description and enjoy a discount. Hope you enjoyed that video, guys. If you did, hit the thumbs up button for me. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. See you in the next one. Bye-bye.